In the Diddy sex trafficking trial, Sean Combs' attorneys confronted his former girlfriend about how she profited from their relationship. The woman who testifies under the name Jane has testified that she was traumatized and used by the music mogul. Here are highlights from day 20.
You spoke on direct examination about regret, right?
Yes.
Because you regret a lot of the choices that you made in your 3.5 years of a relationship with him, right?
I would say that I resent him for leading me into the lifestyle that he led me to.
And you chose to participate in that lifestyle for many years, right?
I would say that my choices were made under a lot of emotional pressure due to my relationship.
Because you were in a relationship with him, right?
Yes.
And you wanted to stay in that relationship?
Yes.
You loved him very much?
Yes.
And you did not want to break up?
No.
And at times he would say, okay, we could just break up, right?
He would say that, but his actions proved otherwise.
He would say to you, we could just break up, right?
He has said those things. Yes.
And then you did not want to break up with him, right?
No.
There were several times that you didn't talk to him for a few weeks or even a few months, but ultimately you did not want to break up with him.
Of course not.
And so you feel resentful at this time that you had sex with other men for a long time in your relationship with him, right?
Yes, I resented the way that he went about introducing me to this lifestyle, was built under a lot of emotional manipulation and pressure. Yes, I do resent that about our relationship very much.
Because you wanted to just be in a relationship with him for 3.5 years?
No, because I was already so hooked from the beginning. I fell in love with somebody who I didn't understand, like the terms and conditions of what our relationship would be like. And so once I was hooked into that and I fell in love, but my emotions were in play. So it was many, many blurred lines of love and affection mixed with emotional pressure to perform these things that my lover really desired. And so I wanted to fulfill my duties as a good girlfriend. And
Because you wanted to be a really good girlfriend and partner. You used the word partner over and over again.
yes,
On direct, you wanted to be a very good partner for him, right?
yes,
And lover for him.
I did.
And you just said you were hooked on the love and affection that you felt from him, right?
Definitely.
And you kept coming back because you loved his love and affection and the way he treated you, right?
I was coming back for that. Yes, not for the other things.
Right? You came back because you loved his love and affection and your relationship with him.
Definitely.
I think on direct examination, you said you're having trouble answering for yourself why you agreed to these nights over and over again, right?
Yes.
And these are questions you're trying to answer for yourself now, 8 months later, after his arrest, right?
Yes.
The why. You spoke about on direct examination that you're having trouble understanding why even now, 8 months later, right?
The why? Which why?
Why you came back and started doing these nights over and over again, right? You're having trouble understanding why 8 months later still, right?
I struggle with my why, but it's becoming more and more clear as I'm in therapy and as I've had this healthy distance to really assess the situation.
You're in therapy now,
Yes?
and it's becoming clear to you now that you're in therapy, right?
Yes.
But this is something you are trying to understand now, and it wasn't something you could be clear about until you went to therapy. Is that right?
I think that when you're under that,
Can you answer my question, which is you're in therapy now 8 months later?
Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness be able to answer the questions.
That's a fair objection. So, Ms. Garagos, if you're not getting a responsive answer, you can make an application to the court, but otherwise the witness should be permitted to complete her answers.
Understood, Your Honor. In the end, what you knew, Jane, was that you love Mr. Combs, right?
yes,
And I think you said even 2 days ago you love him currently. Is that right?
I do.
You would have done anything during this time to spend time with him?
Yes. I loved spending time with my partner.
You wanted to be close to your partner?
Yes.
You wanted to be close to your lover?
Yes.
And you wanted to cuddle with him. Does that sound right?
And give him foot rubs, yes.
He liked the foot rubs part of it?
Yes, he did.
I think you've told me before that you enjoyed taking care of him after these hotel nights. Does that sound right?
Objection to counsel making herself a witness, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Yes, he was my baby.
You liked kind of mothering. You liked taking care of your partner and your lover.
Yes, I'm naturally nurturing. Yes.
So after these nights when you guys would be up for a long time, it would be, I think you testified, sometimes 24 to 36 hours, right?
Yes.
And then you would go back to his home, or you would stay in the hotel, and you loved the time when you guys got to be close and spend that time together, right?
Yes.
You loved to hug him and cuddle him,
And bathe him.
and bathe him and give him foot rubs.
Yes, watch his favorite TV show.
What was his favorite show?
Dateline.
And you would watch that for hours, right?
Till we fell asleep, yes.
I think you testified that he would take Xanax to fall asleep, right?
Yes.
But that you would stay up, and that was your favorite time. You felt very close to him afterwards, right?
Yes.
You also said you didn't want him to feel judged. What does that mean?
I meant, do you mean in the context of these rooms?
Yes.
In the context of these rooms, I felt that my partner was trusting me in a very vulnerable moment. And, well, so he made me believe that this was something really special, that this was something him and I only did. And I really took that on very strongly. And I really wanted to just go along with these things because I felt like if I can be my partner's escape, then I would be. And I didn't want to judge him for the things I noticed in these rooms about his behavior and the things that he liked. And I just would kind of put blinders on and just go along with what he was telling me to do. But deep down in my heart and from what I could assess in the situation, I mean, I didn't want him to feel that eyes were on him while he was in this vulnerable state.
Do you remember telling the government that after just about 2 to 3 dates, you already thought that he was sad, depressive, and had shaky hands?
Yes. It was actually on our second date on our way to Turks when I was on the plane. I was facing him, and I could just see his eyes, and I could just see his hands and his teeth, and I could tell that he wasn't taking very good care of himself. Maybe on the surface, but not internally.
What about his eyes made you feel that way?
I felt that he was developing jaundice. I felt that his gums were gray, probably from drug use. And I felt that his hands were shaky, probably from over-consuming alcohol.
Do you remember speaking to him about wanting him to go to rehab when you initially started dating?
Yes, absolutely.
What did you tell him?
I told him that we should actually take a trip to Thailand. I know of a rehabilitation center that my friend's parents go to that's really nice. And it's like a 30-day program.
And what was his reaction, if any, to that?
He was like, "What the hell? You think I need rehab?"
And what did you tell him?
I said, "Well, yeah. Like, why not? Like, look at you."
At what point in the relationship? Was this before Turks? Was it after Turks that you told him that?
I believe it was probably during Turks.
So when you said, look at you,
Well, this was a faint memory.
okay.
But we have a lot of jokey banter, so I don't know.
Is it fair to say you wanted him to be a lot healthier?
Definitely.
And you are pretty healthy, right? You work out,
Yes.
you eat well,
Yes.
and you wanted him to focus on the good parts of bettering himself, right?
Absolutely.
That's part of why you wanted him to go to rehab as well.
Yes.
And so you felt at the beginning that he was a drug addict, right?
I felt that in the beginning I didn't really know how to label it. I just felt that I encountered somebody that was overdoing the partying.
And is that because, for example, in Turks, he was taking ecstasy almost every day?
I would say, in that time, I would say that he was more celebratory. But then, as our relationship continued, I noticed a very strong pattern, and I still didn't even really label it as a drug addict. I think now I would say that, but then I just would say that he was a really big party guy.
Do you remember saying that he couldn't handle the war in his mind?
Those sound like my words, yes.
And do you remember even one time during a hotel night, you spoke to him about him wanting to get ketamine therapy?
Oh, yes. He mentioned that he wanted to do ketamine therapy.
And you thought that that may help him with his depression?
Actually, like he was telling me about ketamine therapy and all this research that he found out about it. And he was like telling me about what it was.
And is that something that you were encouraging also?
I highly doubt it. Yeah.
Okay. But he was telling you that he wanted to get ketamine therapy and doing the research on it, right?
Yes.
How did him trusting you make you feel?
Loved.
And so you felt really loved by him in those rooms because he was able to be vulnerable with you?
I felt really loved by him because we experienced these things together and because they were something really special for him. And as time went on, it was very conflicting for me internally because I'm breaking all of my own boundaries just to make him feel extremely loved in these times.
You've said to the government before that what you needed and what you craved about those nights were the loving things he said to you. Do you remember that?
Yes.
What were some of the loving things he said to you that you craved or that you needed from these nights?
I loved when we would make love, and he would say that he was in love with me and that he loved me and he just wanted me and never wanted, in some instance, like if I had left or anything. He would say things like he never wanted me to leave and just so many nice, beautiful, loving things.
And that was something that brought you, did you feel that that was something that brought you two together during those nights?
Yes.
And what other loving things did you experience that he did during these hotel nights?
What other loving things?
You talked about things he said. If there were anything, were there things that he did that you enjoyed about these nights?
I think it would be the affection and the lovemaking.
The lovemaking between you and him afterwards?
Yes.
That was something that you really enjoyed and craved about these nights.
That was truly the only reason why I endured these nights. So that at the very end, I could just have my love and affection with my partner.
And did you feel during these nights that this is something that really turned him on and made him, and he really enjoyed?
Yes.
And he was very close to you, would you say, afterwards? Like, he would be very, I know you said he was loving. He would say nice things, and there would be lovemaking, but would you feel closeness with him as well?
I would.
And is that something you enjoyed also?
Yes.
Because you wanted to feel closeness with your lover and your partner?
Yes.
And you wanted him to be satisfied, right?
I did.
Did you feel, if you did feel that these nights satisfied him?
Yes, they did.
And at the time you started dating him, did you feel that he had a very demanding life, business life, work life?
I would say yes.
What kind of things was he working on for work at the time you started dating him? Let's say from 2021 to, we'll do what Miss Comey did, to 2023?
I would say he was working on his album.
And tell me about the album.
He was working on like a final album, a collaboration with various music artists.
And was this something that you observed he was really pouring his heart and soul into?
Yes.
And was this his first solo album in a very, very long time?
Yes.
And you say, so I come in and do that while you go back to being laid up and booed for days. I see what I'm turning into in your eyes while homegirl is literally ran through and your friends behind your back. And did you get her a Chanel bag on top of that? LOL. Crazy. I don't like how you're treating me and what I'm seeing. I need a breather and a break from you. This doesn't make me feel good at all. Your true intentions with me are in plain sight. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, right?
Yes.
Let's unpack that. You are saying so I come in, meaning if you were to travel there, he'd go back to being laid up with the girl for days, right?
Just rewind a little bit. So I mean to say, so I come in, meaning and do that, meaning hotel nights. And then while you go back, meaning after that, you go back to being laid up, which means spending quality time and boot up for days with another girl he's dating and giving this girl quality time, and not me after I've done a hotel night with strangers.
And then you say, and did you get her a Chanel bag on top of that? LOL. Crazy.
Yes. My misdirected anger towards the women when my anger is truly for him, and how mistreated I feel in this relationship.
And are you mistreated because this other person got a Chanel bag? Why are you saying Chanel bag?
I'm being mistreated because the pressure that my partner was putting on me was for me to have sex with strangers. And when he leaves me, he goes and spends quality time and shopping and dining, etc., with the others.
Did this person post a Chanel bag on their stories on Instagram?
Yes.
And you didn't get the Chanel bag. This other person was getting a Chanel bag, right?
No, I only got trauma.
You got a Van Cleef necklace, right?
There was that, and
You got a Bottega bag, right?
after 3.5 years, I really don't think I garnered much from this relationship.
What is a Bottega bag?
I'm sure you have one.
I actually don't. What is a Bottega bag?
It's a high-end luxury purse for women.
How much do Bottega bags run?
How much does my body cost?
Jane, I'm going to ask you to just respond to Ms. Garagos' questions, and your lawyer can follow it up.
Okay, thank you.
I'm asking roughly how much a Bottega bag costs.
Anywhere between $1,500 and $5,000.
Okay. And a Chanel bag. How much does a Chanel bag cost?
I don't know.
And after these text messages, you made the decision not to get on a plane?
I can't recall.
Let's look at the next page. You say, ain't nobody just come to work out. She's been there for days and posting the studio. Stop lying. Funny thing is, I don't even care. I don't even care who you lay up with, right?
Yes.
And if we go to the next page, you're saying, you've been saying you miss me and want to see me, but you're lying. You just want the hotel, right?
Yes.
I want to go back to the beginning of the relationship. You've talked a lot about red lights and oil and ecstasy during these nights. Before you had your first hotel night with him in May of 2021, would he use red lights and oil outside of that first hotel night?
Yes, in our relationship, he would have them also at his residence.
Okay, so this was not something that was exclusively used for hotel nights?
Right.
Okay, after the first time that you met him and Dawn, or that you met Dawn, I should say, in May of 2021, did you start doing research on this lifestyle?
In the middle of our relationship, I think, in maybe 2022, I came upon a word called, because I was just trying to figure out my relationship, I came upon a word that was called a cuckolder.
And what is that?
That is a man who is in a relationship with a woman, and he's turned on watching his woman have sex with another man.
And so you came upon that word while researching what was going on in your relationship?
That's correct.
Okay, and so was that word, so what did that word mean to you? When you were researching it, what did that mean to you?
That word meant to me, well, I was just trying to understand what was going on, so I guess what did that word mean to me? I was just like, this is spot on.
And so you learned what you just said the definition was. What else did you learn about this?
I was just trying to kind of deep dive on all the reasons why they had derived so much pleasure from watching their woman be with other men.
And what effect did that have on you?
It gave me more of an understanding.
And so what was your understanding that you learned?
I mean, there was a multiple list of reasons. One of them was that the cuck derives pleasure seeing his woman receive pleasure from the other man, and a few other things.
What were some of the other things?
Some of the other things were that cucks could also have a real curiosity that they're too ashamed to experience themselves. And so they use the woman to venture out in this curiosity without actually doing the act itself.
He had told you that he was seeing many women, right?
Yes.
Is that something he was upfront with you about from the beginning?
Yes.
What did he tell you about seeing many women?
He just expressed to me that he was dating. He was just dating.
And what term did he use to describe his dating life?
Polyamorous.
And you were okay with that?
I was okay with dating him, yes, and knowing that, yes.
You didn't exactly love that he had multiple other girlfriends, right?
At first, it wasn't something that I minded. I was just getting to know him too. But then later on, as emotions grew deeper and feelings get deeper, then, of course.
Yeah, because you considered him your partner and your lover, right?
Yes.
And as you got more and more in love with him, it was harder that he had a lot of other girlfriends, right?
What was hard for me was the imbalance in treatment. When I walked into this relationship, I thought that, he was just evenly dating. And then as many more years passed, then, it was definitely difficult when there became a relationship that just publicly looked like a monogamous committed relationship and that I didn't sign up for.
Are these messages? Are you sending Mr. Combs messages of the home that you had identified that you wanted to move into?
Yes.
All right. So then, if you look at page 7, you write, and I'll read this part. I know it's big, but LOL. For everything I'm looking for our time, family time, safety, privacy, and school district. This is the perfect place.
Yes.
All right? And when you talk about here, you say, for our time, is that part of what time together, right?
Yes.
And part of what you said was times that you would have entertainers over, right?
Yes.
And you say, it's 4 bedrooms and 4.5 bath. It's a brand new home. The landscaping's waiting approval, and this one is going, skipping ahead, for $10,000 per month?
Yes.
Okay. And on the bottom text on the left there, you say, so, I got approved, yay. So now they need a first and last month's rent, and 2 months of security deposit, totaling for the first month $10,000, last month's $10,000, security deposit of $20,000, total of $40,000. The place is ready for move-in by April 15th, right?
Yes.
So do you know that in order to move into your apartment, did it cost $40,000?
Yes. The home move-in was $40,000.
You say, let me know what you think of the backyard. It's your place too. I want you to be happy whenever you're in it. So if you have any suggestions for them in the backyard, I told my realtor once I speak to you, I'll email him concerning the payment to lock it in. Thank you so much, baby. You have no idea how much this means. I'm beyond grateful for you. And I thank God for you, right?
Yes.
And this rent has, as you said, always been paid on time, right?
Yes.
And he ensured with Robin, his accountant, that rent gets paid on whatever day of every month it has to get paid, right?
Yes.
And that has never stopped, right?
No.
All right, now, after you got the house, he sent you, I think, you said a random wire of $20,000, right?
Yes.
And that's because you needed furniture for the home?
Yes.
And Mr. Combs, you testified, put $20,000 of an investment into your businesses, right?
Yes.
And that was something that meant a lot to you, right?
Yes.
Because you wanted to build your dress business.
Yes.
Okay. And so when you say that you looked up and there's nothing I did with my life in these years, you had 2 businesses that one is now profitable, right?
I would say that had I not dove headstrong on this relationship, I probably would have been a bit more successful in that time frame, but that's neither here nor there. So that's my answer to that.
Do you remember what was the nickname that Paul and Mr. Combs had for each other?
Trifecta?
Can you explain that?
Trifecta, I don't even know because it's 3, and I think Sean was the one who said trifecta. And then it became trifecta.
Would you compare yourselves to sports stars?
Yes.
Who?
Kobe Bryant.
Who was Kobe?
Me.
Okay. And who was Paul?
Paul was, I forget, Shaq.
The Lakers help you a little?
Yeah, Shaq.
Shaq. Okay. And who was Mr. Combs?
Jordan.
Okay, Michael Jordan.
Yeah, MJ.
Do you remember during your experiences with Paul, or when you would speak to Paul, that you would call him your boyfriend?
Playfully.
Playfully? Flirtatious? Like call him your boyfriend. Not that he was your actual boyfriend, but playfully you would call him that?
In some instances, I would playfully say these things.
Okay, and you called him and Mr. Combs during these nights and on these videos your boys, right?
Yeah, sure, yes.
Do you remember telling Paul that you were happy you got to explore your sexuality with him?
Yes.
And was Paul really nice to you?
Yes, he was nice to me.
Do you remember testifying on direct examination that you wanted to have more control over the situation?
Yes.
Okay. And so the first way you testified that you exerted that control was DMing Cabrale, right?
Yes.
Okay. So and just tell me if I'm wrong about any of this, but that you and Mr. Combs were watching Cabrale on Blacked. Is that right?
Yes.
And Blacked is a porn site?
Yes.
And that you DM'd him after you started watching him, right?
Yes.
You kept watching more and more of that pornography, and you guys both liked it?
Yes.
Okay. And so then you went on your Instagram, and you found him on Instagram?
With the encouragement of my partner, yes.
You talked about how he liked it when you made arrangements with entertainers, right?
Yes.
And so sometimes you made the calls and you made those arrangements because you knew that he liked it, right?
I knew that there was an undertone of this expectation of me to set up a party or make an arrangement. And so I picked up on that fairly quickly, and I would make these arrangements. Because the undertone was an expectation?
Because I think what you said on direct examination, fairly quickly you learned that this was the tone of your relationship, right?
Which part?
Having hotel nights.
Yes.